In this video, we're going to be setting up a kiosk device or a computer that you might find like at a coffee shop or a library or the business center of a hotel, where all you, the user, have access to is an internet browser or something that's kind of in a lockdown sandbox environment, so it isn't trusting any individual, any person that just kind of walks by or gets to use this device to do anything nefarious with it. You see these a lot in those places and settings that I just suggested: coffee shop, library, etc. And I want to have some fun with this because I want to showcase how we can set this up, and then in a later video I want to showcase how we could potentially try and bypass some of the features and break out of that limited environment in the kiosk, how we break out of that kiosk. I'll showcase an easy mode, that's what this video is in this mini-series here, and a hard mode. Easy mode showcasing a free open source, I don't actually know if it's open source, a free utility you can find on the internet that allows you to do this, and then the hard mode will be the official, like, assigned access like version and rendition of a kiosk program that Microsoft Windows and Microsoft actually ships with and allows you to do with their operating system. Now, I'm going to showcase all of this in Windows 11, which we had just installed inside of a virtual machine in a previous video. So if you haven't checked out that video, really recommend you go take a look. If you don't have a Windows VM already set up inside of a virtual machine, VMware, VirtualBox, etc., I'll link that video and you can go check that out. So let's get started. Easy mode and then hard mode in the next video series. But first, we're going to set up this kiosk, and then in the next video, we'll try and break out of it. So let's get to it. Okay, I am now set up with the Windows 11 virtual machine we just created in VMware Workstation with the login being asked for our admin account. We set the password to something super simple, just the word admin. We'll go ahead and log in, and I'll bring this to full screen here. Okay, we are now logged in, but I want to show you the application that we will go ahead and use that we can lock down our computer as a kiosk here. Microsoft Edge, as our web browser, wants us to try and sync our data. I don't care. You really don't need to do that. In fact, I'm going to completely ignore you, and we'll just go to Google. I don't need to use Bing or any of those shenanigans. Please leave me alone, Microsoft Edge. Okay, so the application that we'll go ahead and install is the FrontFace Lockdown tool. You can see it suggested there. And we can go actually download this. The website it offers is Mirabyte, however you'd like to read that. It is Windows freeware. We can go ahead and go to this page. And this is the tool, super simple. This is, again, easy mode, something you can find online, totally free. How could we bypass this sort of kiosk? Protect public-facing PCs or computers that you might find in a coffee shop, library, business center, etc. We'll go ahead and download this. Scroll up to the very, very top. The download page is here. And you can see it has started to download up at the top right. However, I don't need to enter this newsletter. No subscription for me, please. Now we'll go ahead and navigate to our file explorer. This would have put us in the downloads. You can see this here. This is the lockdown file. I'm going to go ahead and put this in a new users directory, which means that we have to create a new user because we've created an admin account for our machine, but we want to have the ending individual, the end user, run as a low privilege account, not this administrator that we've set up our own device with. So let's go ahead and create a new user. I'll do that nice and easy with the command prompt. You could very well do this with the control panel, but I'll go ahead and right-click the command prompt and select Run as Administrator. Totally fine. I'll zoom in to actually make this accessible and visible for us. And the commands to add a new user are simply net user, and then the username that we'd like to add, and then the password that we'd like to add for that user, and then /add. Now, I'm actually going to make this something super simple. We'll make it like kiosk, and then add. So the username is kiosk and the password is kiosk. Nice and easy. Hit enter on that. The command completed successfully. Fantastic. And then we should be able to go ahead and move in our file browser this lockdown installer tool into actually the user kiosk directory. Let's go over to the users location. That might be C:users actually. There we go. Okay, cool. So our kiosk user actually hasn't logged in yet, so it hasn't created a folder for him. Let's actually go put this in a, I guess, Windows World Writable location so we could be able to copy this in and out and actually still install it as that user, the kiosk low privilege account. So I put it in C Windows Tasks, and now let's go ahead and actually switch to that kiosk user. I will enter his password, kiosk. Oh, and now we'll have to go through all the setup to get him configured, whatever. Okay, location, no, accept. Here we are as the kiosk user. let's navigate in our file explorer to that C Windows tasks folder, and let's see if we can actually copy this, if it will allow us. We'll need administrator permission to copy the file. That's okay. We know the admin password is admin. Now we can bring that to our own desktop. Now that we have the lockdown installer moved onto the desktop of our Kiosk user, and we have actually created the Kiosk user, which we'll end up using in both the easy mode and the hard mode, before we actually put this machine into Kiosk mode, where we won't be able to make any other changes, I think we should actually create a snapshot for our virtual machine so we can roll back and be able to make changes and tweak as needed without being stuck in Kiosk mode forever, right? So let's go ahead and actually power this machine off. And let's take a snapshot. We'll go ahead and say before easy Kiosk, take snapshot, and then we can go ahead and turn this back on. Okay, I'll log back in as the low privilege Kiosk user. Because we can just borrow the administrator permissions, we can go ahead and work with this lockdown tool super easily, install it and set things up as needed. Okay, so now this pops up here. It says, select the Windows user account to which you want to apply any configuration changes. We can use our own standard user account, that low privilege Kiosk user, select OK, and let's check this out here. It says, welcome to the FrontFace lockdown tool. This application allows you to easily configure Windows 10 or Windows 11 PC for two things: continuous operation mode, like a digital signage application, or protected kiosk mode for like public facing computer terminals. So how you define and you decide what you want your kiosk to be. Again, this is kind of just for learning and for fun. You could use either or play with either. In case you want to use this PC as a digital signage player or a protected interactive kiosk terminal, you can start by using one of the predefined profiles over on the right-hand side here. These can be customized further, and you can really do whatever you'd like. And we'll do that. We'll explore those. But I think in our case, if we were trying to explore with the most extremely limited and restricted environment for a computer, like just show a web browser, that's all I want, then we could use something like digital signage. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's load the profile for digital signage. Good. And we could change, okay, what user do we want to log in with? What automatic login should we use? We'll want to use that Kiosk user, and the password we know is simply Kiosk. We can prevent the override of the automatic login. We can force this automatic logon. Do not show usernames on Windows logon screen. Yes, we can probably enable those. And here are auto start programs. Defines one or more applications which are started automatically on Windows startup when a user account is selected. So we should actually change this sort of idea, right? And I think it's actually better defined in the Windows shell option. The Windows shell defines which shell is started on Windows startup. So right now we're using like Explorer. The same way we use our file explorer, it is explorer.exe that's actually running your desktop environment. It is the Windows shell. But if we were to change that, if we didn't have the start menu in desktop, we used a custom application, then we could make it launch whatever we wanted. Something super easy, right? You could have something that will restart automatically, shut down at a given time, reboot, hibernate, change some settings. And we'll modify this custom app in just a moment, but I do want to show you some of the other options that you can control here with this FrontFace or locker tool. Disable the screensaver, disable Windows Update, disable monitor standby, etc., etc., etc. The security tab is also interesting because this actually has some that you might want to or be able to really change. If you want to disable the Windows key and Control-Alt-Delete, that could very well be used to lock down this kiosk, right? Windows Firewall, fast user switching, that can be turned off. Disable Task Manager, we can turn that off. Disable Change Password, that's fine. Lock Workstation, we can turn that off. Disable Shutdown, that's fine. Disable Sticky Keys. Sticky Keys is one way we could absolutely break out of a kiosk if it's enabled. You might be able to navigate through a couple of menus in Windows and eventually get to run an application other than the one you are actively using. We'll leave that off for now so we can show that road, but maybe we can tinker with this and explore later. Disable USB storage devices, hide deactivate drives, etc. That should be all. But we still need to get back to what our custom app is. Now, Microsoft Edge, the default Windows web browser, can be used as our app because we want to be able to allow them to navigate through the web browser and do things, right? But maybe we want to make it full screen so they can't even do that. Maybe we just want to display our own web page. Something like that. We can customize this however we'd like, but I'll show you how Microsoft Edge can actually be started in kiosk mode. Let's ignore this and let's Google Microsoft Edge Kiosk mode. Check it out. Go to the documentation here. Here's how to configure Microsoft Edge in Kiosk mode. There are a lot of settings that have changed, or what Kiosk mode actually does here. For each of these specific features, whether it's digital interactive signage or for public browsing like a terminal, they might or might not allow certain functionality, like F11, F12, delete download on exit, multi-tab support, URL support, show the home button, etc. All these could very well be specific to which setting you might want to use, whether you're allowing public browsing or digital interactive signage. And these are things that you can set when we run Microsoft Edge. Now, for using the kiosk mode features, these can be invoked by just specifying command line options for digital interactive signage or public browsing. And you specify it as TAC Edge kiosk type full screen or public browsing. Full screen will be the digital signage option where you can't navigate to basically anything else, and kiosk type public browsing will be, hey, you have the address bar and you can browse around. Whichever one you might like. We will stick with digital signage, so it's a fully restricted, you can't do anything other than look at the screen that I'm giving you. There are some other options here. You can see additional command line options. No first run disables the Microsoft Edge run experience. I sure wish we could do that all the time. Kiosk idle timeout, support policies, etc., etc. Anyway, we care really about this TAC Edge kiosk type equals full screen and this TAC kiosk. So let's go ahead and specify some of those. The next order of business, though, is actually deciding what thing to display with our digital signage, whether it's your website, whether it's a banner, whether it's something. When I actually put this together, this was for a conference. This was for a local event. This was actually for a public and in-person event where we would have people come up to our booth and we wanted to draw them in with some activity. So I thought, let's do this kiosk breakout as sort of a hacker escape room. So I just created a simple local file that would just display, hey, the hacker escape room with some art and some decals, and that was it. That was all that was displayed. We could do something similar. We could beautify it. We could decorate it. We could make it pretty, or we could just make something super easy. I will allow you, the player in this case, to set up whatever you'd like. But anyway, let's just create our own simple local file so we don't need to rely on internet for our own digital signage. Let's just make a simple, stupid HTML file that we might be able to display something nice and easy. We don't even need a header tag, to be honest. We'll just go ahead and use a body with a big header of kiosk breakout. And that can be what we're displaying here. We'll go ahead and put that, I guess, on our desktop. We'll make that a .html. We'll just call it index.html. Now, if I were to view that in our web browser, there it is. It's just a kiosk breakout. Nice and easy. If we wanted to give it a little bit more activity, we could say, oh, here's a link where you can explore on the internet. We'll just go to like example.com. Explore the internet. Even though they can't navigate with the browser. That should be good. Refresh that page, explore the internet. That'll take me to example.com. There we go. If you did use internet, or if you didn't want to use internet, you could configure that to some other local thing. Anything that you're interested in, you can set this up. But now we know the puzzle pieces for what we want to be able to actually work with, right? We want to be able to run the Microsoft Edge application. So we'll get the properties to display where the actual path is here. We'll call Microsoft Edge.exe in this location. And we knew that the arguments needed to be TAC kiosk, and then what we wanted to actually view. We'll go ahead and use our own index.html file that we just created, and then Edge kiosk type should be full screen. Now with that all set up, we could use this as our command that we want to run with our FrontFace locker tool for our Windows shell. We'll go ahead and enter the Microsoft Edge, but we should be able to actually modify this. Hey, sorry, John from the future here. Quick thing, didn't mean to interrupt, but wanted to let you know, I tried to record further on in this video past what you're watching right now in this moment, and I kept running into a wall. I kept having a problem because there was something different with the functionality of the FrontFace lockdown application. It looked like I couldn't add command line arguments, which, you know, we are trying to do for Microsoft Edge, to the custom application that we wanted to run rather than the Windows Explorer, Start menu, and desktop kind of thing. So I thought maybe there was some update, maybe there was some change in the last time that I had used this, as I explained, was for some event where I wanted this activity, and that happened to be before the start of the new year or before the month of December 2021. So looks like there actually has been an update, and you can't as easily in the program application actually add in the command line arguments that you want to run. And I thought for a little bit of time, as I was recording this, that this was going to be a deal breaker. We weren't going to have the functionality that we really wanted to, because you would just open up Microsoft Edge and you'd have this whole full interface where you could click on things, go to the URL bar, blah, blah, blah. And that would kind of ruin the illusion of the kiosk and digital signage that we wanted to. But I have found a solution, and I want to drive us down this road. But note that there was a change, and it kind of threw me for a loop as I was trying to record this. This has changed a little bit of how what you can do and why in the FrontFace lockdown application. Let me show you what I mean. If we were to go use this custom application that we want for our Windows shell, we will no longer be using the FrontFace player app, because that would be another thing that we would have to install. You would be able to add in additional applications with an executable file, arguments, and working directory there, but you have to install something else. Meh. Start menu in desktop as the option for Windows Shell takes away the kiosk that we want. We want some lockdown sandbox restrict environment in a custom application, not having the full user interface of a desktop. FrontFace Player app, again, we would have to install. Using a custom app, I would want to be able to try and type in this input box, but I can't. You can browse, and of course we can browse to applications like within the desktop. I tried to make a batch script, that didn't work. I tried to make a shortcut file, that didn't execute. It seemed like it really needed an executable file. So you could use Microsoft Edge and maybe the shortcut that's present there. In fact, if we actually try and change the properties here, like, oh, let's use this Microsoft Edge in kiosk mode with the Edge kiosk type being full screen, notice, hey, when we try and actually apply, okay, accept this, it doesn't add that to the very end of our custom app portion here. I can't go any further, and I can't modify this. So that was kind of a pain, and it's a little frustrating. I thought that would ruin what I wanted for the video of our easy mode setup. But all hope is not lost, because I thought of this silly thing. You can save and export this profile, the settings of how you want your kiosk lockdown to be saved. Right up here in this little floppy disk icon, we can modify a FrontFace lockdown tool profile, and we'll just call that a profile. It's this .ffltx file extension. Okay. Probably the most letters I've ever seen in a file extension to be legitimately considered a file. But if we wanted to go explore that profile, we could open this with Notepad or WordPad or whatever you might like, and it is an XML configuration file. It is something that we can mess with and tinker. In fact, it stores the encrypted string as an interesting thing there. That would be worth kind of playing with and understanding. Anyway, we can scroll down and see, oh, our Windows shell functionality is actually present there. And if we wanted to modify this, because it is now just plain text, we could add in those arguments that we knew that we wanted. Let's add our kiosk, and let's bring that to C users kiosk desktop. It's index.html where we saved and wrote that. And then let's use the Edge kiosk type to be full screen. We can hit Control S or save this, and now that profile has been saved. So actually opening up our FrontFace lockdown tool, let's actually open this new profile again, load that in. When I enter that, scrolling down to our Windows shell, my face is in the way, sorry, we can now see that Microsoft Edge.exe also has these other parameters for the kiosk mode, Edge type, full screen kiosk, and now we are set, and we could very well run this as our own custom application. It's just kind of a weird mess to get around adding in those command line parameters. Anyway, we know we are having a couple security changes to disable Control-Alt-Delete. That would make the kiosk breakout way too easy. We're leaving sticky keys on for the moment. That can be our easy mode functionality. But let's go ahead and apply these settings. Note when you click on Apply Settings, it offers, hey, when you click on Apply, the settings you configured will be applied to this computer and the selected Windows user account. So our kiosk user account will now be locked into this and auto-logged on from this computer. You can also choose to create a system restore point beforehand so that you can revert any changes in case there are any problems with your configuration. Now, you could use this as a means to back up and get back to before you've kiosked your computer. We did that with a snapshot, right? So we don't need to create a system restore point. We can make sure that is unchecked. But then hitting apply, fingers crossed, the configuration settings have been applied. Some changes will only take effect after a restart. Do you want to restart your PC now? Let's go ahead and hit yes. Totally fine. Exit. We've made those changes to actually include the command line arguments for Microsoft Edge, the application to start in kiosk mode, and took a lot of functionality and features away from using our computer as a full-fledged desktop, right? Now let's let it boot up and we'll see if we can get that kiosk experience that we were hoping for. Looks like the kiosk user automatically logged in. I didn't type any of that in. And now, this is it. Our kiosk breakout is here. We don't have the address bar. We don't have the breakout menu. We don't have any of the file context things. I can't right click in the application. I can't alt tab. I can't control S, control save. I can't control P to print, control O to open anything. No. Okay. This is our kiosk. So I know this looks like nothing right now, but we could very well deck this out or prettify this with, hey, a company or a website or something to scroll through and actually interact with the page. We could explore the internet, right? Any links or things that are present in this. But now let's actually move forward in trying to break out of this kiosk. And we'll do that in the next video because this video is already long enough and we ran into enough speed bumps and walls. But I sincerely hope you enjoyed kind of getting this set up and you're looking forward to that next video where we start to, press on a bunch of keys, try and click as much stuff as we can, figure out our way out of being locked in just a web browser to like opening a command prompt and then owning the machine. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Please do those YouTube algorithm things. I'd love if you could like the video, maybe leave a comment, maybe subscribe. Super helps the channel grow and I really appreciate it. Click the link, click the button, click the bell, blah, blah, blah. Thanks so much, everybody. I love you. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.